G'day, Nick here, Animal Engineering. Welcome back to the channel. So this will be episode 13 on the old Metro van here. So today's episode, had the frames all sandblasted, got that coated in some 2-pack epoxy primer. So today's episode is doing all the repairs to this frame. Generally, after sandblasting, it's not too bad. There's a couple little bits at the front on both sides here where the sliding doors go along the tracks, so they're pretty cooked. I'm going to make them a bit more solid than what they are now. Also the bit that comes across the back here, I've got that on the bench over here. So you can see that's pretty rusty, pretty cooked. Probably could have just sandblasted and reused it, but I'm going to remake it. It's a pretty structural piece of the whole back of the van, so just going to remake that whole piece. So really it's only really this back piece, the two side pieces for the both doors at the bottom, and then there's a couple of small little bits of rust in a couple of different spots in the frame, but generally it's not too major. So first off the rank, we'll get kicking into this piece. So yeah, there's quite a lot of work in this piece. There's different angles going on to match up with the angles of the walls of the van. And then you can see this top plate sort of rolls over and folds over, and that's sort of what braces the quarter panels. And then there's also this other piece, that other piece that's got to get made up, and that actually is what the interior panel screws to. So there's a fair bit of work to do. So yeah, there's a fair bit of work to do, and we'll get kicking into it. Alright, well, we're jamming away here for a couple of hours. I've got all the pieces to remake that frame, except for the main, the sheet metal piece on the top, but all the supporting structure underneath, all the brackets, everything's all made up. But yeah, now it's just a matter of tacking it all together, and then we'll do a test fit on the van, and then weld it all up, and then we'll make a start on that top piece. Alright, fast forward a couple of days, I've had a big old clean up in the shed. Nice and tidy, which is good. So yeah, must have forgot to push record or something happened there. The camera might have overheated, but it sort of lost a bit of footage there. But basically, I've got all that bolted in, that back bit of channel. So that back bit, I remade that. I was just sort of going through blindly copying what was already there, but that back bit was actually lower to accommodate the. Used to have a plywood floor, which I'm not having, so I made it and then put it in there and realised that I was going to have to put a quick little step in the panel, which I didn't want to do, and yeah, I'm not doing the floor the same way, so remade that, so that's all nice and flush and level in there now. So now it's just a matter of welding that all up, and then we'll move on to making the skin for the top. Oh, well there you go, that's all fully welded up. Now on the original, these pieces and little wings that come out to bolt up, they were only stitched on. I've sort of just gone ahead and fully welded the whole thing, so there's no way any moisture can get in between those two plates now, which I think is a better way of doing it. So I'll just go through, give her a quick once over the old flat disc on the grinder, and then we'll be good to go. Just had to switch back to my iPhone. That Sony camera I got. My wife got me this camera to try and make the filming and that a lot better, like the video quality, but this is, you can see that, ZV-E10. It's only 30 degrees in here at the moment and it's just tripping balls, it's too hot. So, don't really know what you can do about that, but bit of a bummer. Anyway, we'll get this cleaned up and then we'll look at making that top skin. Yeah, spent a bit of time on that, that's all cleaned up. So now we're going to move on to making this top skin. See, she's pretty cooked. So look, flange here, look at this flange here on both sides, it's going to tip over. So I think using the bead roller on this particular panel, just the length of it, it's going to be quite hard to manage, it'll be quite flimsy. Work on this end and then the other end, and there's no bracing, sort of no structure in the middle, so it'll flop around. So what I'm going to do is make up a hammer form and fold it over that and shrink it as it goes. So we'll make up a couple of templates and cut a bit of steel out. There you go, that's my hammer form made up. A couple of old bits of plywood there. You can see I've just left a couple of drill bits in there just as like little aligning pins. You know, when I push this through the top piece, through the steel and into the bottom piece, that these are going to be lined up Mickey Mouse. So, never actually made a hammer form before, but watched a few videos from Ron Cavell and seems to be a pretty good way of doing things. Well, there you go, that's my piece cut out. There's a bit more trimming I have to do once I actually get it on the other panel, but I've just left it whole for now. But you can see trying to work this edge and tip this whole panel up in the old bead roller will be a bit of a nightmare, I feel, so definitely think this is going to be the easier way. Alright, so now I'm just going to put this piece of wood on, drill through those two holes I've made earlier, and then we should be able to use those drill bits as locating pins to get the bottom bit on and start hammering away. Yeah, that's all clamped up. There's line pins just stop the middle pulling through the two bits of wood I've got there. So I'm going to start hammering and see how she goes. Well, that worked pretty good. That didn't take very long at all, really. I think I may have gone a bit heavy. I've got some fairly decent sized like tucks in there, and you can see once I sort of formed, the old plywood here was just a bit soft, I think, to hammer against, and couldn't really got most of them out, but you can see there's a couple still left, but we should better get out with a hammer and dolly, just sort of smooth them out. There you go, that's one side done. We'll go ahead and do the other side. That's that top piece with both flanges on the ends. So, yeah, that's my first ever go at hammer forming. Lost that D. It's not the prettiest, but yeah, it looks alright. As far as this panel goes, all that's left to do now is there's a bit of a, see these cutouts I've made, it goes back a little bit, and I've got to put like a little joggle, little step down to contour where the other piece, the back piece comes up where the doors swing into. So I've got to do a little joggle down there and then fold it over at a 90. I've just got it how they're clicos at the moment. Got these dies here, which should be able to put a nice little step, get a nice little radius in there. So we'll chuck them in the bead roller and we'll smash this bead in. Right, well there you go, that's all in there, done. You see all these sort of clicos, that's where I'll do some spot welds later on. But yeah, it all fits in there pretty dang good, really. So yeah, I've just put the quarter panel back on just for the time being, just so we can have a bit of Bit of a look at how it's fitting. Yeah, it's all fitting in there really good actually. I'm pretty stoked with that. So next on the hit list is these pieces along the bottom on both sides. They should be fairly straightforward. Yeah, so we'll get stuck into them. Oh, there you go. That's the two running boards, I guess you call them. Bottom bits of the doors there. So they're all made up, nice and strong. It's probably twice the thickness of what was actually there before, so should be plenty sufficient. So yeah, we'll chuck them on the van, get them welded in. Alrighty, well that's another big piece of the puzzle done, fabrication wise. So got both of them fully welded on there, looking really good. So now the next major, well not major, but another big job I've got to do now is go through all these ribs, sand down all the little bits of spot welds that are left there, get them all sanded down, and then cut up some plates. And there's actually a flat plate goes along all of these, but it gets like a carpet underlay in between them and the outer skin of the van. It just cushions it, I suppose, so it doesn't rattle around and annoy the piss out of you. So we'll get stuck into that, sand them all down, cut some sheet up, and then we'll get that welded on. Fast forward an hour or so, I've got a whole heap of strips cut. So just been down to S&S Industries in Malaga, like a local paint supply body prep shop, and picked myself up one of these little bad boys. This goes in, boom, hole, boom, boom. So gives a nice hole, no burrs. Otherwise I go from using a drill bit to do all this, it'll take me forever, and then you got to go back, deburr holes, and basically throughout, once I start doing the interior of this van, I'll be using this thing a whole heap. So not the cheapest thing in the world, but the amount of time and labour and stuff you save, definitely worth it. So yeah, it's all prepped up, we'll get stuck in, get all these plates on. Right, well there you go, that is that side done, all those plates put back on there. Daddy. So anyway, what we're going to do now is go through, grind them all off. Yeah, it just makes a nice little hole there, you just do a little plug weld, sand it back, and we'll be ready for paint. Well, there you have it. It's 188 plug welds later. Both sides are finished off, all the sheet metal's welded on there. I don't really know how many hours I've got just in doing that little piece of the van, but I'm sure you'll agree it was definitely worth it, like drilling out all the spot welds, getting rid of the old sheet metal, sandblasting it, painting it, and putting new stuff on there. At least we know there's no rust in the frames anymore, so that is a major bonus. Yeah, very happy with that. Now both sides of the van are done. So they had a look at how it was fitting up and it was pretty spot on, so I'm confident that I can go ahead and weld the sheet metal piece onto the actual frame, and then we'll look at painting it. Another big piece done. So there's just a couple of small little bits of rust on the back frame where this piece bolts up to, so it's got to do that. Get those couple of bits done, and then we'll be ready to throw some paint on it. The frame will be done. Yeah, we'll get kicking on, smash out these last two bits of rust, and then get the paint gun out. Alrighty, well it is the next day. I've just been ahead and done the two patches on the back. One there. Another one there. So you see that sort of, whoa, whoa, easy. Alright, well, take two at the old outro there. Just been inside and uploaded stuff to the old laptop, and everything I filmed today was in slow motion. Don't know what happened. Really not good with technology. Trying to learn how to use another camera is just a bit of a nightmare, but anyway, that is the bones of the frame done, fixed. The major rust, like this back piece that was completely rusted out, both pieces on the side rusted out, done, fixed, finished. Got a nice coat of paint on there. I am very glad that I went to the extra step of drilling out all the spot welds on the pieces there, so we could sandblast in behind, paint, and then get them back on. It was a lot of work, but I'm definitely glad that I done that. Pretty much, as far as the frame goes, that's the majority of the fixes done. I will need to do a few modifications to the passenger side for the servery window. There'll be some modifications there, and maybe a couple more when we go to do the actual floor of the van as well. But I've got it to a point now where at least everything's there, it's rust free, it's painted, it's protected. So now we can move on. Got two side panels, two quarter panels in the roof to go back on, and then that's like the main shell of the van. Tickety boo. Yeah. Pretty happy with how it's all gone. It's all looking really, really good. I got the whole front end into some 2K epoxy as well while I was painting the frame and the other bits, so that's all nice and protected as well. Now I don't have the etch primer on there, which is porous apparently, so that's all protected, and as I go along, each time I do a bit of work I'll spray another coat on there, so it'll probably end up with like 5 or 6 coats on the bloody thing. But next episode we'll get stuck into doing this side, and yeah, cheers for watching. We'll see you then. Adios.